Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. So y'all like my t-shirt, Mailbox Money? Hello. Click the link in my bio or the link tree if you want one. This is Tiger Eye Investments. My name is Ming, and this is the Lazy Landlady channel. And you can find me on YouTube. You can subscribe, or you can follow me on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok and all over the place now, right? So I want you today to follow me along on this journey of dissecting a few brief points of a residential lease. Now, I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, actually. And so my lease that you can find on my link tree, you could just click the link in the bio or click the link tree symbol, the icon, and it'll take you straight to the link tree. And you can find, it says residential lease, and you can purchase one. Now, just so you know, this is the lease that I use all the time, and I've even revised it over the years to make it perfect from, my experience. So when I started out, it didn't mention things that I needed it to mention over the years as I've gained more experience, and so I tweaked it within the last 12 months, and so this is even a better version of it. So the first thing we want to put on our leases, or make sure our lease includes, obviously, is who is the contract between you, whether it's your personal name or your business entity, whatever the asset, however the asset is held, through title or through your business, that's the name you want to put. And it's also between the tenant's name, depending on their ages and, like their marital status or their family makeup, like whatever they consider a family or whoever they want to be on the lease. So those two parties will be on the lease. Typically, any adult over 18 years of age should be on the lease, but that could be negotiated. Also, the second part, now there's multiple parts, y'all, I'm just going to go over a few parts. So the second part is the terms of the lease, like when is payment due, how much is the rent payment, what are your late fees include, what are those dates, and what ways are you willing to get paid? Are you willing for them to pay electronically through multiple rental collection websites like apartments.com, or some people use Avail or Buildium or other property management sites. TurboTenant is so many out there. It just depends on your comfort level and which ones you want to use. I also sometimes have tenants send money direct deposit money straight to my bank account. So, like through ACH. So that's possible. Whatever you feel comfortable with, but do not ever, ever, ever collect cash, because you want to have a paper trail if you ever have to justify a payment being late or a missed payment. So tenant responsibilities include on a lease, what are they responsible for their lease duration? For instance, if something is broken, who's responsible for that? Is there a certain minimum that they have to, is it like a threshold minimum that they have to meet first before you step in? Like, for instance, on my lease, the minimum is like a certain dollar amount that it has to meet before I step in. If it's below that threshold, then they are responsible for fixing it themselves. And so you can have something like that on your lease, and that alleviates you from having to make all of these small, minor house calls or maintenance calls, right? Time and energy, gas, you don't have time for like the small things. So you have to tell them in lease terms what you're willing to fix and how much you're willing to fix. And it also depends on whose fault was it. Was it regular wear and tear from the house just settling, or the house just getting older? Was it bound to happen anyway after a few years, or was it because of their negligence? Did they break it? You never know. Like, I have a tenant that had a tenant, her son had really bad anger issues, and he would punch holes in the wall. So that's a whole nother story, y'all. But anyway, that's just an example of something that was not normal wear and tear. So that was clearly her responsibility, right? So we want to list that in the lease, like whose responsibility is what. Also, We want to talk about like trash day. Like, do you prefer as a landlord, we want to keep like the neighbor, our job as a landlord is to keep the tenants safe, right? And also to keep the neighborhood. We get into this business. I know I get into this business to decrease blight in the neighborhood. Like when I buy a house and I be in the house, in my brain, I'm thinking I'm doing the community a good thing, the world a good thing. I'm ending homelessness one person at a time, one family at a time, but also I'm reducing the blight in the city one house at a time. So in that, even when we have people renting the place, we want to make sure that they keep the exterior of the place looking nice, right? Because we don't want like all these ugly trash cans outside or these recycling bins, depending on what the neighborhood is and depending on how this house is set up. You know, like, do they have a porch or is it a curb? Like, depending on those things, we want to have the house like aesthetically, whatever the word is. You know, we want to just have it aesthetically appealing for the neighborhood. So for instance, on some blocks that I own property in Philadelphia, it looks really, really tacky for the trash cans to be out front. So I prefer if they keep them out back in the backyard until the trash day and then bring them up front. Not only because it's me and my OCD and me trying to, beautify the neighborhood, but also the neighbors do the same thing. So we want to kind of like get along with the neighbors and have things uniform, thus keeping the beautification of the block. So also, we want to make sure in our lease that we have the tenant initial every single page, because you want to sit down with them in person. Some landlords have their leases docu-signed. You could do that, and you could do like a Zoom call and go through each line item. My lease is like 7 pages, guys. So if you click the link in the bio, you could get it, like all the verbiage that I use, all the information that's in there that you will need as a landlord. And like I said, I've been a landlord for over 12 years, so I've changed it and revised it to things that I actually do now. So initial each page and make sure you have them initial each page to make sure that they are saying that they read each page with you. And even like I said, even if you docu-sign it, if they docu-sign it, or if you want to verbally tell them on the phone, like the line items, or you meet. I prefer to meet in person so I can see and tell them, hey, number 1 says this, number 2 says that. I just want us to be clear. So I tell them to make sure when we're doing a lease signing that you block out at least 2 hours for us to go through this lease. It might go a little faster, but at least I don't want to rush. I don't want you to be in a rush, because I want you to understand everything on these line items that we have to go over, so that we have an understanding as business partners, what we expect from each other. I also, as a landlord, have responsibilities also, and I want to tell them what they are in the lease. I have to, spell those out for them too. So have them initial each page saying that they understand each line item, and then at the end, you both execute the whole document by signing and dating, right? That's important. And last but not least, in this session, we're going to talk about the lease addendum. So the lease addendum we have to talk about in a whole nother video, but I just want you to know that that should always go along with the lease, because it outlines things that you might not have mentioned in the formal lease, or things that you just want to reiterate. Like I notice sometimes, it might not be clear in the lease, but I might like spell it out a little bit more thorough in the lease addendum. So if you have more tips, please share in the comments below, or if you have more questions, you can ask in the comments below, and I will respond. Alrighty, ladies and landladies, go get that money. Bye.